It's just got to be different than what's in our water, cause ours is okay. The guys from PG&E told me. They sat right in the kitchen and told me that it was fine.
I know, but the toxicologist that I've been talking to, he gave me a list of problems that can come from hexavalent chromium exposure. Everything you all have is on that list.
No, no, no. No, that's not what our doctor said. He said that, well, that one's got absolutely nothing to do with the other.
But PG&E paid for that, doctor.
And we are back. But before we go into real talk, it's time for PP, our patron pitch. This is where we let our patrons know what they can expect on their exclusive patron feed. We also let non-patrons know what they're missing out on. So, Alex, here we are. Second episode of the new year in Contrarian's goodness. We have a new intro. We have a new outro. But the level of awesomeness on our Patreon channel remains. And so we got to do the quick recap as usual. We're going to start with the Travoltis tier, $1. What does $1 get you on the Contrarian's Patreon? Well, it gets you access to all the stuff that didn't make it into the episodes on our cutting room floor segments. You can just go through all that. Almost every episode has clips that don't make it for time or because they're just too removed from the actual conversation that we're having about the movie. But they're not too removed to be on the Patreon channel. Sometimes we combine them. We have 2 or 3 episodes worth of cutting room floor stuff in one segment, but it's good stuff. Same way that our bonus episodes are good stuff. This month, our bonus episode is on the really, really old vampire movie Nosferatu, requested / demanded by patron Jordan Mance.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna tackle that classic. And I mean, I remember watching parts of it when I was in film school, but I couldn't tell you, how much of what I remember is from that time that we watched parts of it, and how much is just because it's embedded in pop culture. And it's like, oh yeah, that's what the Nosferatu vampire looks like. So I'm looking forward to actually sitting down and just like soaking it in. Have you ever seen it beginning to end, Alex?
I remember watching it once, but it was long enough ago that I definitely need to rewatch it.
All right. Well, we're doing like the black and white silent version. I'm sure that there's a colorized DVD out there that we're not going to do that. We're just going to do the original. So you have access to that along with all the other bonus episodes that we've done and all the other special events that we've had on our Patreon. Now, if you want more, then you go up a tier. The Winonis tier will give you access also to our pre-recording notes, and we'll give you access to our quick video reviews. This month, we're getting together once again via Werby to do a dual quick video review of A Good Day to Die Hard, the so far final installment of the Die Hard franchise, a movie that we covered a long time ago. We had help that time. Our friend and patron Chas Fisher came all the way from Australia and joined us in that conversation. But this time it's just Alex and I. And I mean, it's been at least 5 years, maybe longer, since last time we watched A Good Day to Die Hard. And we're gonna do it on video. We're gonna share our feelings, and maybe they've changed. Maybe we can appreciate what that movie was trying to do in a way that we didn't back then. We'll see. And then, of course, you also have access to Contrarians After Hours. That's the spin-off show where we tell you about other things that we're watching, that we're playing, that we're reading, that we're thinking about. Alex, what are you bringing to Contrarians After Hours this time?
Well, it's about 10 days into November right now. It'll be a little bit later by the time this gets posted. But I did try to watch 30 horror movies in October. I'm not sure I quite hit the mark, but we're going to be recapping the movies I watched, first-time watches in the month of October, and my thoughts on them. Of course, this is all fall within the realm of horrors, so as you all know, I'm a big fan of. Even some new movies, like recent movies, because I watched that Totally Killer movie. So it's not just going to be all old shit. I know that's what y'all expect from me. We'll be talking about something recent also. But recap of my Shocktober watching list.
Shocktober. Alex, I do have some horror movies as well on my list of things that I watched. I'll also be doing like just quick recaps, and some of them are new, some of them are old. I followed up our delightful conversation about The Exorcist by watching The Exorcist 2, which was a terrible idea. I also watched The Exorcist Believer, the new Exorcist movie.
All right.
And then I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And I watched the Wes Anderson. There's nothing to do with The Exorcist. I watched the new Wes Anderson collection of shorts available on Netflix. Alex, you should really try them because they're 17 minutes each, except for the longer one. It's like bite-sized Wes Anderson goodness to lure you back into that gray area where you actually were able to enjoy a Wes Anderson movie.
Well, that's because Rushmore is good and most everything else I've seen is not. So,
well, maybe these shorts will change your mind.
It's true. Who's to say?
Yep. And also, I recently guested on the Binge Movies podcast ran by our friend Jason. Not Jason Nerdrover, different Jason. You know that your community is growing when you have repeat names among your listeners and friends. But I guested on an episode that was about the top 10 movies, box office successes of the year 2003. And we talked about the bottom 5. And I'm only bringing this up because then it led to him bringing me back for a different episode where it was kind of like a showdown between, if you listen to the show, it'll make sense. But he basically spends a season picking up movies from every episode. At the end of every episode, he picks a movie. And then in the final episode of the season, all the movies that have been picked by him and then by his guests are thrown together in a final battle. And so I was defending his list, and that meant that I had to watch the movies that were on his list. And that meant I had to watch Real Steel, Alex, the Hugh Jackman vehicle from a few years ago. I think that he was halfway through his Wolverine career at the time, 2011. So I'll tell you about that as well. So on my end, Exorcist 2, Exorcist 5, I guess, is the new one. All the Wes Anderson shorts and Real Steel. A loaded after hours with that. But, we're going to go through these. They're not going to be like super deep conversations. They're going to be like bite-sized reviews.
Letterbox reviews.
The snappy ones. There was just like a couple lines and a rating. So,
oh, that's right. That's what I do. You actually will pen real reviews for that.
Sometimes, if the movie gives me something to work with, then I'll write something. So that's ready for you on your after hours. And then if you want to be part of that select group that gets to give us things to watch, whether they're quick video reviews or movies for the main feed or movies for the patron feed, well, that's when you join the $5 tiers and $10 tiers. Just go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Contrarian Prime. Look at the tiers, see what tickles your fancy, and join the Contrarian supplements.
$1, $3, $5, and $10 are respective tiers, as Julio outlined. $1 will get you in access to our previous projects like our tremendous Roxina mega series and our Lindsay Lohan journey as well throughout her career and life. As announced on our original Sin episode, we have some patron goals for future projects. Like I said, we're not going to go through that spiel each time, but check out that episode, or our social media accounts will also have more information on that. But yeah, to all of our current patrons, we love you all dearly. And as I like to say, we are always accepting applications for new ones. They will be quickly reviewed and accepted, and you will have access to all the goodness that's there. And Julio opened up the chat too on our patron page. So if you have the mobile app, join the discourse, as they say. And I don't know. I have so little to offer in the way of modern cinema, but there's a lot of discussion to have there with some of our wonderful patrons.
You watch movies, you like movies, and you probably have something to say on that chat.
Correct.
So
watched all 3 RoboCop movies the other day. Plenty to say about it.
God, that sounds like an amazing time. All right, Alex, let's put away the patron commercials and let's dive into real life.
Let's take out our files.
Yeah, let's take out the files and let's just motherfuck each other until we make each other millionaires. Let's go to real talk.
Fuck you.
Fuck you back.
All All right, as I mentioned, Erin Brockovich released on March 17th of 2000, directed by Steven Soderbergh, written by Susanna Grant. Budget of $52 million, which, as I mentioned, Julia Roberts received an unprecedented salary for her lead role, making her the first woman to break the $20 million barrier. So nearly half of that budget went to her. So God bless. Like I said, it's her movie. She's the draw. Like we said, this was peak. This was like the peak of her popularity, and this is, I think, provably the peak of her acting, as she won the Academy Award for it. But and as we said, the investment paid off. The box office return of $256 million, and good on her, man. Get paid, girl. When this is all said and done, I may not say this is my favorite movie of all time, but that's good. Women should get paid. Especially in a situation like this, that's proper payment. I hope Soderbergh, or it's not Soderbergh, it's Universal, and producers Danny DeVito, Michael Shamberg, and Stacey Shear. I don't know who gave her the check, but I hope they gave her like the agreed upon amount. Yeah, we found was inappropriate, and instead of 15 it was 20 million.
I thought you were gonna say that you hope that they brought him like a novelty check. You've won.
Oh, like because she does reference Ed McMahon in that, the Publishers Clearinghouse. Yeah, that would have been a good one. At the 73rd Academy Awards on March 25th of 2001, you want to guess who hosted, Julio?
Okay, so now this is tricky. 2001. By then, Billy Crystal might have been gone. So, is that one of the rare Steve Martin years?
Goddamn, pal! Way to go! It was celebrating the films from the year 2000. So this will make Julio happy. The most awards and most nominations went to, it, Julio. I need you to say it.
Wait, 2000. So it's not American Beauty, right?
No, that'll
be the
99.
Previous year. 2000.
One of your favorites.
But see, I can't tell if you're being serious.
I'm definitely not.
Because I was like, are you going to say it's Gladiator or something? And then
it is Gladiator. Gladiator, nominated for 12 Academy Awards, won 5. This was also the year that Bjork, in her famous swan dress, performed. What's the name of that song? I see it all. I've seen it all. From Dancer in the Dark. That was the only thing that got nominated for was Best Original Song, and she performed it at the ceremony. Best Picture went to Gladiator. Its fellow nominees were Chocolate with Johnny Depp, Chocolat, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Traffic, and Erin Brockovich.
Oh my God, Soderbergh was just all over those Oscars.
I can't remember which one it was, and I should have done this research beforehand. One of them was delayed because I don't think they were supposed to both be in the same year. I want to say it was Traffic got delayed a year because, Soderbergh just he was lighting cigars with flaming $100 bills around this award season, man. And he took home the Gold Man for Best Director for Traffic.
And Benicio del Toro won for Best Supporting, right?
And The Sods was nominated twice in the category of Best Director.
What?
Steven Soderbergh, Traffic, won. The other nominees, Ridley Scott for Gladiator, Ang Lee for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Stephen Daldry for Billy Elliot, and Steven Soderbergh for Erin Brockovich.
What a weird fucking lineup. I think
shit.
I know you're a Gladiator fan, but
I am, but you remember like Crouching Tiger, like that caught on like gangbusters. That was wildfire, man. You remember that came out and everyone was going nuts about it?
Yeah. But didn't do like it won Best Foreign, right? Best Foreign Picture. I guess now would be the Best International.
Yes.
But that was it. Like that's where it stopped.
Not for Ang Lee.
Oh well.
He'd get that bad boy. What? 10 years later, he won Best Director for Life of Pi.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, in the Best Actor category, of course, went to Russell Crowe for Gladiator.
Boo.
Hey, now. God damn, dude. What a murderer's row. Russell Crowe, Javier Bardem, Tom Hanks, Ed Harris, and Jeffrey Rush.
So Jeffrey Rush is for it's not Shine, right? So is it that movie with where he's the Marquis de Sade?
Yes, Quills with
Quills,
Kate
yeah.
Winslet. Ed Harris for Pollock. Tom Hanks for Castaway, which I always forget how actually good he is in that because that movie's become kind of like a joke. It's parodied is what I meant to say. And then Javier Bardem was for Before Night Falls. That was my thing when No Country came out. People were like, where'd this guy come from? I was like, dude, he's been nominated for like 3 Oscars before. So we'll save Best Actress for last. Best Supporting Actor, we had our buddy Albert Feeney nominated for Erin Brockovich. Joaquin, his first taste of Oscar nomination for Gladiator. Willem Dafoe for Shadow of the Vampire.
Speaking of Nosferatu.
Yeah. Jeff Bridges for The Contender, and Benicio del Toro, who took it home for Traffic.
And do you think that Albert Finney called Soderbergh after? He's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like my one chance.
You screwed me, Steven. That was the year Marcia Gay Harden won Best Supporting Actress. And
for Mystic River? No.
Pollock.
Okay.
Judi Dench was nominated for Chocolate. Julie Walters for Billy Elliot. And then, this one I know by memory off the top of my brain. Kate Hudson and Frances McDormand were both nominated for their roles in Almost Famous, which segues into Best Screenplay, which Erin Brockovich was nominated for alongside Billy Elliot, Gladiator, and You Can Count on Me, which all lost rightly to the Crowbar, Cameron Crowe, who took it home for Almost Famous.
I can't believe. I mean, I can because it's part of history, and I know it, and I remember just kind of like falling asleep through that Oscar ceremony. But I can't believe the amount of nominations Gladiator got. Like beyond, like I like obviously technical would be a given, and then I understand Russell Crowe being nominated for Best Actor and Joaquin for Best Supporting, but Best Screenplay? Are you kidding me?
It's man. Like I said, it was something more slightly dignified when it was the 5 nominees. Because if you know today that if it was the 10, Almost Famous would have gotten a Best Picture nominee. And so it does make me kind of frustrated that it didn't, because that obviously is one of my favorite movies ever. But of course, our flame, our muse, our centerpiece, the actress du jour, Julia Roberts, took home Best Actress, beating out Joan Allen in The Contender, Juliette Binoche for Chocolat, Ellen Burstyn for Requiem for a Dream, and Laura Linney for You Can Count on Me.
And the Oscar goes to Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts' first Academy Award and her 3rd nomination. She was nominated in this category for Pretty Woman and for her supporting role in Steel Magnolias.
Julia Roberts wins the Academy Award. She was on fire for this, and famously or infamously, depending on your point of view, forgot to thank the real Erin Brockovich in her acceptance speech. Afterwards, she was quoted as saying, "It doesn't bring out the Albert Einstein moment that you hoped it would."
I mean, it happens.
Oh yeah, there's a certain charm to the folks that would win these and clearly have kind of written themselves off, be it self-deprecating or whatnot. Now it's different because everyone's got like their own little TikTok and act to do. But we'll always give Joe Pesci a shout out for his acceptance speech of, "It's my honor," or "It was my privilege," or whatever. He just has the one line that walks off. So, when you see people like this, there's been cases where people forget to thank their family and shit like that. And I will take that over fucking Tom Hooper coming in his pants and like having everything prepared of what he wants to say. Thanks Mo and Fricky from when he was 8 for, encouraging him to make films and shit.
I love it up here.
So, Erin Brockovich, Steven Soderbergh, Julia Roberts,
Aaron Eckhart.
Aaron, Two-Face, man. I'm ready to hop right into it. So I propose we just go ahead and The 85%, so 15% of those registered reviews on Rotten Tomatoes were saying, "Hey, this ain't all the hype says it is." So, Julio, what did you pull? What were the naysayers spewing?
Alex, there's you might be aware of this already, but there's a big name among the green splotches. That'll be our closer. But let's start with Chuck Rudolph from Matinee Magazine, who says, "It is not a movie, but a collection of scenes that serve one purpose only, to justify Julia Roberts as a movie star." I think that she was justified as a movie star already.
Yeah, Chuck, I hate to break it to you, but I think she had about a decade in the game at that point of being celebrated. So
that's why she got paid the big bucks.
Precisely.
That's why it doesn't work the other way around. We're like, let's make this movie and see if we should pay her $20 million.
We're gonna give you the Carpenter deal. You're gonna get $3,000, and then we'll decide what you get after that.
Next, Robert Wilonsky from New Times. "It's the first Steven Soderbergh film to smack of work for hire." Ouch.
Oh.
What the hell? If you're going to ask him of selling out, then wouldn't you say that his Elmore Leonard adaptation is him selling out? Like, I think that Robert's a little late to the party here, denouncing Steven Soderbergh as not being an India tour anymore. He already made a movie with George Clooney and Ving Rhames and Steve Zahn, Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, I think that the ship had sailed at that point.
Yeah, much like with Julia Roberts. Like, this is a little too late to make that comment. Next, Harvey S. Carden from CompuServe says, "A feel-good film with all the numbing predictability moviegoers seem to demand." A little insulting.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would say.
And we're gonna close with Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times. Second episode in a row that Ebert gets a quote, except this time it's a negative. "The film lacks focus and energy. The character development is facile and thin. And what about those necklines?" Whoa, Roger, the hell? Is he really criticizing Julia Roberts' wardrobe in this movie?
Raj, come on, man. You're better than that.
I mean, maybe they just called Ebert on a bad day. It happens.
I mean, the man watches movies all the time, you know?
Yeah.
He might have been tired. His bagel wasn't that good. They made his egg over easy when he asked for it sunny side up, you know?
And it was an egg sandwich, so he didn't notice until he bit into it, and the yolk just ran down his chin.
It got all over his shirt. God damn it. fucking Julia Roberts. All right, so she was definitely America's sweetheart at this point in time.
Has she already made the movie America's Sweethearts?
So I think where most people start is Mystic Pizza for Julia Roberts.
Not Pretty Woman?
Well, Mystic Pizza is beforehand. That's 88. Pretty Woman wasn't until 90. Steel Magnolias in 89. That's like what I probably associate with her most, besides Pretty Woman or this, of course. Flatliners she was in, which is kind of funny. That was the same year as Pretty Woman, which elevated her into a different stratosphere. She's, of course, Tinkerbell and Hook. The Player, so she is in Contrarian's canon.
Barely.
The Pelican Brief, Something to Talk About. And then the big ones coming into this were My Best Friend's Wedding in 97, Stepmom in 98, and then in 99 she had the 1-2 of Notting Hill and Runaway Bride, and then she made Erin Brockovich. So
just nonstop.
Good God, Stepmom made $160 million.
That's an Alex Maddox movie, right?
It's fine. It's just it's like when I'm trying to like stress like something random, like if I'm trying to, it's like Poco, West Virginia or Duluth, Georgia. Like when I'm trying to make an example of just like a random ass town somewhere. So if I'm trying to make an example of a random ass movie, I'll say Stepmom. I do remember seeing that when it came out though, as a kid. It was like around Christmas time, and I was like, "She's so pretty," and that definitely, like I said, I watched this movie under the false pretense that it was going to be some, titillating film because Julia Roberts was very hot to me as a youngster, and she's obviously a very, very pretty woman. And I think that's no pun intended. And that kind of segues into where I kind of stand in a lot of ways with her career and this movie. Julia Roberts had, I can't be dramatic enough in saying once in a generation or, once in a lifetime. No, not Roxina, or, just a look unlike anyone else that has ever, I don't want to say lived, but anyone who has ever been on television or film. No one has ever looked like Julia Roberts. And there's like movie star beauty, there's that girl next door thing, and there's just an intangible. It was like on our Planet of the Apes QVR we recently did, kind of talking about Charlton Heston and like how he was like a movie star.
Mhm.
It's because no one fucking looked like Charlton Heston, man. That big, just chiseled jaw and those, just that ruggedness about him. And like that's with her, that's Julia Roberts, man. That's a movie star. No one's ever quite looked like she did, and you'll never mistake her for anyone. Julia Roberts is not anyone. It's not Dylan McDermott and Dermot Mulroney. You're not going to confuse Julia Roberts for anybody at any point in time. The thing with me is that I've always understood that part of it, but and I was also kind of always partial to her with short hair, like in the early 90s. But I never felt that way about her acting. I think she's a very good actor, but I never felt like she was like a once in a generation actress, if that makes sense. That's, you can say that about several people throughout history that had absolute movie star looks that no one else was ever able to replicate, but their acting wasn't up to snuff. There's some people you could say that like looked great, but their acting sucked. And that's not necessarily how I feel about Julia Roberts. It's just this being the pinnacle of her acting. And that's kind of where I come away from it, of she's good, but I don't think it's like this great legendary performance. Are you on the Julia Roberts bandwagon? Like, do you think she's an all-timer? Where do you sit on this fence? Or which side of the fence do you sit on?
I admit, I don't know shit about shit, but I know the difference between right and wrong.
I think on the bandwagon, I guess I am kind of like on leaning outside, like maybe 1 foot out, 1 foot in, but I definitely more in than you are. I think it goes beyond the looks. I think, and I find it because I do have the note, Julia Roberts is a movie star in my little notebook, because that was all I kept thinking. I was like, this movie works as well as it does because Julia Roberts is a movie star, and it's not just the looks, which I agree with you. It's just she looks like Julia Roberts, if that makes any sense. It's an intangible, like you said. It's like you don't learn how to look like Julia Roberts. I guess you can have people kind of like make you look like Julia Roberts, but in the end, you still have to have like something that a starting point, and so she has that. And then, I mean, one thing is looks, another thing is charisma, like screen presence, and she has that. You can point the camera at her, and she's going to deliver, or like the likability that it's easy to connect with her. And it's not like I'm an expert on her filmography, but I've seen enough Julia Roberts movies. So I'm like, yeah, it's an easy in, right? Soderbergh can point the camera at her, and she can go on these speeches and rants, and some of them would be so cringy if they were delivered by somebody that doesn't have that quality, but she pulls it off. I'm not saying that they're not cringy anyway, but I can get through them because Julia Roberts delivering them. And I don't know what it says about the Academy or her career or her movie choices or whatever, that this is the movie that she got an Oscar for, right? It feels almost like it's a reward for doing something different. Maybe not so much a reward for like the quality of the performance. And I'm not saying that the performance is bad. I think that the performance is exactly what this movie needs. But it's just that the movie itself is just, I don't want to demean crowd pleaser, but I was going to say just a crowd pleaser, right? There's nothing particularly challenging about the movie, which means that there's nothing particularly challenging about her performance. And I don't mean challenging to her, but I mean challenging to the audience. But I don't know. I mean, I complain about dramas and really dark stuff hogging the awards. And so there should be room also to award every now and then. You just award a crowd-pleasing performance, which is what this is. And I can't really speak because I haven't seen most of
Let me tell you about this movie called Green Book, Julio.
Well, now you're going to the extreme. Because that's ultimately what it boils down to is like, what was it competing against? And I'm not, I'm not going to just focus on the Oscars, but just because it's really one of the things that the movie is known for. We joked about it at the beginning of the episode in Contreras Corner. Like this is a movie that gave Julia Roberts the Oscar. I think personally, also not knowing what she was competing against, she was probably more deserving in Pretty Woman. I think that is, not having watched Pretty Woman in a while, I feel like that role, if you wanted to reward, screen presence and just like that, just that quality of
I don't know, man. I got it pulled up right here. Kathy Bates in Misery beat her, and I might have to side with that.
I guess. But okay, forgetting about just putting the two performances side by side.
The thing that like I'm putting together in my brain right now is why she probably got it and why people loved it so much is because the character of Erin Brockovich feels like Vivian Ward grown up. Like it feels like, this is the progression of Pretty Woman. Not literally, but I could see in their mind being like, 10 years later, she's back and, she's tougher than ever and she's learned things along the way.
Yeah, but maybe Pretty Woman, I think, makes no bones about being a fairy tale. And so, whereas like Erin Brockovich feels like, it wants to be gritty, but it also wants to be kind of this, not quite a fairy tale, but it's still, it's a story where like you're not really meant to focus on the fact that so many of the people in this town are dying, regardless of how much money they get, and that is a choice. That's a storytelling choice. And I just can't help that I was like, I'm fine with the movie not doing that, but it definitely pigeonholes it into like a very specific type of movie. This is a movie where we're going to focus on like the happy things and the good things and the triumphs and all that stuff. And that's good. That's, that type of movie has a place. And Julia Roberts' performance here is like perfect for that type of movie. But man, even like, I think she's fantastic in My Best Friend's Wedding. And that's minor spoiler for those of you that care about our scheduling. That's coming sometime in 2024. So I'm not going to talk much about My Best Friend's Wedding, but I think that's, if you're talking about like perfection in a specific genre, just like I think she's perfect in this for what Erin Brockovich needed her to be, for what Erin Brockovich is. I also think she's perfect for what My Best Friend Wedding is. And what
she's also, to give her cred, she's fantastic in Charlie Wilson's War. I think that's a really underrated movie.
That's really right. She's in it. Yeah. That's also like her stepping out of the box, I guess. Because you were reading all those titles. It's like, yeah, she was kind of on that rom-com tear for a while, and I mean, it was good for everybody. She was. They were making money. People were liking them.
Yeah, and her big ones after this, like what the Mexican America's Sweethearts. She's in the Oceans movies, Mona Lisa Smile, and then what was that one she did when we were at the Eat, Pray, Love? That was like the big gals get together and come to the movie. And then she was, of course, in August Osage County and Larry Crown, which is a terrible movie that is like shockingly bad. But yes, to the point of getting back to what you were saying, it worked for everybody. It's not one of these things. It's like, the Adam Sandler thing of people are like, why does he keep doing it? I'm comparing the situations, not the performances of the movies, but it's the thing of like, why does he keep doing these? Well, you see all those zeros after the dollar sign there. That's and same thing here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the most challenging role she's ever done is. And that's not to anyone's real detriment, because she's made a bunch of movies that have made a lot of people happy. And believe you me, it's made her really happy, and her kids and her grandkids and great grandkids. So I don't know. But I watched this and I'm left wondering, like, because the script is just so milquetoast. It's like, here you go. It's going to be, she's going to swear, and it's going to be funny and charming. And she'll have some quippy one-liners from time to time, and she'll wear these fun outfits, and which, again, I believe is 98 to 99% true on what happened in real life. But
there's no way. Like, it's like there's no way that the Aaron Eckhart character existed. Or if he existed, there's no way that he was the way he is in the movie.
Yes, George might have been her brother who lived with her or something. But I guess through this discussion and watching this, that's where I found my thoughts of, like, she could be the great actress that she's been touted to be, and I've never really accepted, because I've never really seen anything with her. Closer, maybe, is her kind of stepping out. But, I've never seen her do, like, Randy the Ram. I've never seen her do something where she really is trying and going for something.
But that's the thing. Like, does she need to? Because
clearly not.
I mean, not like financially, but what I mean is, like, not everybody has to do the wrestler, like, not everybody has to have, like, that turning point in their careers where they just take on a role that, I guess, redefines what people think of them as performance. Like, I think that it would be just so weird if everybody did it. I like the idea that Julia Roberts knows what she's good at, what she's great at, and she just does it because, it's like, especially, she already got the Oscars, so she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone.
For the first time in my life, I got people respecting me.
I don't know. I like her. I think that as a movie star, and as movie stars being this sort of species in danger of extinction, I welcome all her Julia Robertness, and I am more likely to go see a movie that has Julia Roberts just doing the Julia Roberts thing, just like a fun rom-com, than Julia Roberts is the wrestler, And I was like, why do I feel like this conversation is familiar? It's because we had it about Jennifer Aniston.
Okay, Julia Roberts is a better actor than Jennifer Aniston. I'll definitely say that.
You don't think Jennifer Aniston could play Erin Brockovich?
No. There you go. Jennifer Aniston is someone who, especially for the time period, was unbelievably attractive. That I don't think, and I'm a big Along Came Polly fan, so I'm not
discussed in our Patreon channel
heavily, but I would not call what she's done for the past 30 years acting.
It's kind of the same thing, though. It's just that some I don't think that the performances are the problem. It's just the screenplays. I think that a lot of it is just like, well, this is the movie that they end up making, and it's not a movie that really highlights their strengths in the way that others do. So I think Julia Roberts has, like, a lot more hits.
A couple. Yeah, I think it's safe to say.
I also think that she is a movie star and Jennifer Aniston isn't, but that doesn't mean that they're not in the same ballpark when it comes to where their talent lies, as far as, what their strength is as actors. I think it's that kind of, they have that likability, they have that, they can deliver, like, that dialogue and make it work. How do you feel about now that we're in real talk, how do you feel about the big speeches in Erin Brockovich? Like the big, like, the Oscar clips and trailer clips, and just like, the movie's going to stop so that Julia Roberts or Albert Finney, or maybe even Aaron Eckhart, can deliver a monologue.
Give me an award. That's what that says to me. Look, the way movies are made and presented in kind of a mainstream vacuum have constantly altered over time. And it seems as though back in the day, the 40s and 50s, the long set pieces with consecutive dialogue, uninterrupted, were really strung together. And that seems to be something that's kind of come back over the past 15, 20 years. But that 90s to mid 2000s, there was that the big movies, like the big dramatic award movies, they would, a lot would happen, and then they would stop to let you know when the important shit was happening. I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. Like Forrest Gump comes to like a screeching halt in that scene, and it's great. It works for what it is, and that's the thing here too. If I liked this movie more, I would defend it and say that was just kind of what was necessary at the time. Is that you're going, and then you have to stop to let your audience know what's important. And the best movies, the greatest movies, and this is not exclusive to any time period. This is any movie ever, are the ones that you can't decipher when something's like that the director's like, this is what's supposed to be important, this is what's not. It's when everything kind of comes together and you're left like, oh man, but remember this in the midst of all this shit. That's also the best dialogue too, is when you get lost in a scene and then someone drops just an unbelievable piece of Llewyn Davis. It's a little careerist, and it's a little square, and it's a little sad. That's just kind of in the middle of all the chaos that's going on there. So I'm with you in the sense of, or to answer your question rather, it's kind of like a time capsule of watching movies to me, of the 10 or 15 year span of serious movies. Okay, slow down. We got to make sure they know to pay attention right here. Which you would think would be way more prevalent today. All right, put your cell phone down, pay attention to this part. But that was something of that time period.
And it's just that there's no attention span today to sit through a monologue. Like, nope, not doing it.
As someone who has rewatched the Before trilogy, I don't know if you could get someone born after 2005 to sit down and watch those movies just without being on their phone or having to take a break.
I have faith in humanity. I think that it would be possible, but you would have to take the fun away from
them. Tape it behind the TV so they know it's there and they stare there just to make sure no one comes and takes it.
I didn't care much for it either. I agree with you that it's something that is kind of like baked in the type of movie that Erin Brockovich is. And again, it is that type of movie very successfully, starting with Julia Roberts' performance and then just all the way through the way that they tell the story and how they navigate what could be some really dark waters. And, they sell this to you as an absolute triumph, which, it is, but also, like I said, it kind of skips out on some of the darkness. But as I was watching it, even with the Julia Roberts star power, I did cringe a little when it got to those.
The dialogue's too much, man.
But it's not the performance. You know what I mean? Like, I think she's doing what she can. And they told her, like, here, this is a showstopper. This is the one that's going to be on all the commercials. It's going to be on the trailers. If you get nominated for an Oscar, that's what they're going to play.
That's the brilliance of that scene in Hamlet too, is the two students acting it out are so bad that you're kind of left there hearing what the dialogue is. And it's that scene of 6 is the age of, 3 is the amount of ex or children I have. And 2 is the ex-husband and 0 is the time you're going to call me. And without Julia Roberts and to a far lesser extent, Aaron Eckhart there, you're just like, what the fuck is this, dude?
Hey, how the hell do you remember your bank balance right off the top of your head like that? See, that impresses me. You're dead wrong about that 0 thing, baby.
So I think that what we're kind of like going around and around is that the movie's not as good as the Julia Roberts performance.
Yes.
Or maybe
she succeeds despite the material.
Yeah. And it's not, again, I'm not saying that the material is necessarily bad. I mean, I think it has some weak moments, but it is just that I think that a lot more people like you and me wouldn't think twice of celebrating the performance if the movie was better. But as it is, what it feels like,
correct,
this is her best performance, I don't know, because it's in a movie that's not that great. And that usually, creates a dissonance that just pushes you away. That's why I think, I have I'm more inclined to praise, idolize her performance in My Best Friend's Wedding or Pretty Woman, which are movies that I think are better than Erin Brockovich, and therefore their performance is a better movie. It just enhances it somehow. So I've seen better Soderbergh movies. I've seen better Susanna Grant movies. So it's just not a highlight of anybody there. It's just
I will say though, I definitely believe the person that wrote The Soloist, and I mean that in the sense of just like preying on what are lines and what are situations that I can quickest cut to like the core of John and Jane Q viewer, and just like what's the easiest path, the path of least resistance to get there. And you're talking about the performance being better than the movie, and that's it's funny because we just read over the Academy Awards from the same year, but that's Russell Crowe's good in Gladiator, but Gladiator is a much better movie than his performance in it. So it's, that works both ways. And I know you may disagree on it, but it's looking up
the GIF of Thor going, is it though?
I'm just trying to make the point to kind of piggyback off yours that it does work both ways.
Right.
Now we've come to our conclusion on that front. And before we get out of here, we got a little piece of business to address here. Aaron Eckhart as a biker. What the fuck, man?
Is he the weakest element in the movie?
Yes.
Why? Explain this to me, because I'm still trying to make sense of it. Is it the performance? Is it just that?
So here's the deal.
I just don't buy that this person exists. What is it?
The situation is that he is the only character besides Erin Brockovich and Albert Feeney, Edward Mastery, that we are around enough to think that they are an integral part of this story as well. But he is written as vapidly and as like just hollow as all of the other side characters. Marge Helgenberger, who else? Travis
Coyote.
Walter, Peter Coyote. Yeah. Like they're all characters that are there, but they're just there to help this part of the story go along. They are not part of the story. George is meant to feel like part of the story, but he is written as minimally as all the other characters. And also he just seems like an idiot. Like not an idiot, but as you immediately called out in Contrarian's Corner, is just way too good to be true, way too patient, because like it's a movie that has no real sense of time, but there's the part where the earrings, he's like, that was 6 months ago. It's like, motherfucker, you've been doing this for 6 months? And so like the extent of what they give him for character development is the longing shot of him looking at the leather daddies rolling down the street, which is hilarious in no intended way. But I'm not gonna blame him for it. It's just the writing is not good.
Yeah, that is 100% the writing. And I think that I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I guess because I was just my main focus was like, we need to talk about the Julia Roberts performance and just flesh it out. But the fact that the real Erin Brockovich seems to have been heavily involved in the production, or at least I imagine she was, just because, it's her story. She got paid for it. She shows up for a cameo in the movie. And I wonder how that influences the way that the story was written. Is she a producer or something? And
she's Nick Nolte in Tropic Thunder, just sitting there, the consultant the whole time. Is this how it happened?
Well, I think it's the other way around, because it's weird because I saw some quotes from critics referencing Erin Brockovich's, the character's growth and her development throughout the movie, and I don't see it. I mean, I think that she apologizes to Aaron Eckhart at the end, and she kind of says thank you to Albert Finney at the end, but it is so weak, like such a weak beat, that it doesn't feel like it redeems how, like I said, and there's kind of like how ungrateful and how just
it exonerates her of being like using him for all that time and not being appreciative of what he did. She's just like, hey, look at this, look what I did. And it's like, okay, I'm off the hook now. You smiled. We're good. It's
literally, it's just words. You don't see her like that's the thing. Like, actions speak louder than words, and there's no action. She literally, all she does is say like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then, "Oh, well, thank you." But that's like the bare minimum, right? And that's okay if your movie is just about. It's not about her growing, it's just about her beating injustice. And that's great. But it would be a lot more interesting if you also saw her grow, right? If through this journey and through achieving justice for this town, she also learned something about herself, or she grows as a person. But she doesn't really. I mean, she makes more money. She learns some skills. But there are two characters. The only other two big characters in the movie, are the ones that should be helping her grow. And that is Aaron Eckhart and Albert Finney. Albert Finney should teach her how to be professional, right? She teaches him how to be brave, how to take chances, and he teaches her how to work with people, because she can be so abrasive that it can be a detriment to her work. He teaches her teamwork, and Aaron Eckhart teaches her that it can't be just about work, right? That you have to have a balance, a work-life balance, and none of that happens. All that happens is that she teaches them that she will prevail. And that's fine, for like a movie that's interested in just showing you that. But it would be, at least for me, so much more interesting if her character had acknowledged some of her flaws, even if she didn't overcame them. Like, at least have the movie acknowledge them more than the movie does now. So that's another reason why it just doesn't work as well for me as, I guess for the Academy.
Which is also weird because they make a point in the story to have like those scenes of like, no, you can't have it all. You can't be Superwoman because you're missing your kids grow up and this guy's leaving you. But then the movie ends with like, nope, she can have it all.
Yeah. There's never, she cries in the car, but there's not. You're right. It doesn't lead anywhere. The only reason that we're assuming she gets a happy ending where she has a better work-life balance is just because, well, now she makes more money. But that's it.
And because Sheryl Crow tells us so.
Yes, that's why. Every day, winding roads everywhere for everybody.
And I think the biggest thing to call out with Aaron Eckhart is that he looks very strange retroactively, because he, for the following 15 years after this movie, curated his image to be the clean-shaven guy with the sandy blonde hair that varies in length, but is, always kind of pushed to the side a little bit. He had the Aaron Eckhart look, no reservations. Like I mentioned, Black Dahlia, Dark Knight is what most people know him for. That Battle Los Angeles, Olympus Has Fallen, London Has Fallen. He has that Aaron Eckhart look about him. So seeing him in this with, that fucking Rick Steiner mustache that he's got at the beginning is just ridiculous. And, in closing on the Aaron Eckhart front, he tries. It's just the character. There's really nothing there.
I mean, they offer you this role in the new Julia Roberts movie.
Get to make out with Julia Roberts? Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what else did he have going on at the time? I mean, yeah, I'll do it.
Got to work with Oliver Stone and Steven Soderbergh back to back. That's, there's only X number of people on the planet that can say that.
I am really sorry, George.
Have the kids eaten?
No.
So, where does it land, Julio?
It's got to be 3.5 stars. I think it's a good movie. It's not a great movie. I think it has a really good performance. I appreciate Julia Roberts more as an actress than I appreciate her acting in this movie. And she's doing what's required and she's doing it wonderfully. But, if anybody asks me like for recommendations on Julia Roberts' work, I'm not going to put Erin Brockovich up there. I'll put all the other movies that I was talking about. Yeah, 3.5. And a lot of that, like Julia Roberts' star power is carrying a lot of that score.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars in my Letterboxd review. I agree. It's a good movie, not great. It has the keystone performance of her career, whether you or I think it's the best one or not. C+, I guess it would probably translate to. Like you mentioned, there's other movies I'd recommend over this. Definitely Pretty Woman. I think Hook, there's some fun to her performance in that. Like I said, Charlie Wilson's War, I really enjoy. And so it sounds like we're aligned on this. And Now,
It's gonna
I
be
guess
us against the world in this one. Alex.
I was about to say, now we just wait for the hate mail to roll in. And for those listening, what do you think about Erin Brockovich? It's aged interestingly too in the things that we called out, the tropes of filmmaking that have kind of faded to the wayside over the past 20 years. So I'm curious, if you've never seen it before, check it out. Let us know what you think. Julio, that concludes Erin Brockovich. Julia Roberts, thank you for your time. Where do we go now, Julio?
Well, we're going to take a brief break from paying our live stream debts because it's time for another patron pick. And this time it's our friend, fellow podcaster, and patron, Paul Myers. Filmbusters Paul. Always with interesting picks.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what he's going to throw at you. And this time he threw a choice, Alex. And I said, I will let Alex pick. Inspired by the Rock Cena Max series that we did on Patreon, Paul said, okay, well, I want a Rock Cena follow-up. You're going to pick either a rotten Rock movie or a fresh Cena movie. The rotten Rock movie is the infamous now Black Adam, very recent. And the fresh Cena movie is The Suicide Squad, which is also fairly recent. I mean, it's a couple of years old, I think. So it's up to you, Alex. What are we doing next?
Well, sounds like I'm not going to escape any of the dystopian superhero landscape. So I want to see The Suicide Squad because I know Big Match John got some props for that. And it splintered off into a show that he got, right? For the same character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Went
on to HBO. So, all right. James Gunn, you beat out whoever directed Black Adam. The Rock will have his day some other time, but it won't be on our next episode. The Suicide Squad coming up, not to be confused, although you already know, if we're talking about John Cena, so you know it's not the first Suicide Squad.
With Will Smith and Jared Leto.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. This is the one with John Cena. I'm not going to even list the rest of the actors because I want you to just discover them as you watch.
Is this the one with Margot Robbie or is that the Jared Leto one?
She's in both.
What? Are they like canonical?
Somewhat. Like the movie that we're going to watch references the first Suicide Squad as, something that happened, but doesn't go into detail and doesn't really require you to have watched it. It's just,
somehow Palpatine returned?
Basically. Somehow we used to have other characters in this team and they're gone. Somehow Will Smith had better things to do.
All right. And that might be as good a time as any for us to finally do our not addendum, but our Where Are They Now follow up on Patreon for Rock Cena because Dwayne, John, Sheamus, our buddy CM Punk, we got a lot to cover.
That's exciting as well. So coming up next, The Suicide Squad. That's how we're going to close November. Let's get out of here, Alex.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. You can also check out his podcast Nación Combi about Peruvian current affairs and Marginal about economy. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
How much money he makes a year, who knows? Just promise me you'll wear that dress and you won't forget that summer of 19